Hi there, Jack Marshall here once again from the London Contemporary School of Piano, and on this one I'm hoping by the end of it will help clear the mist on how you can learn walking bass lines for jazz piano. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this, one slightly more complicated than the other, but by the end of it I'm hoping that it's something that you can use whenever you're working with lead sheets or any tune that you'd like to put walking bass on. As always though, just before we begin, just to say, if you do enjoy what we do here at the school, then do check out our website, that's contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. Ask for our free resources pack, get yourself some useful materials, and check out some of our courses. So, let's start learning how to play walking bass lines. Alright then, so what we're going to be using to help demonstrate this will be a 2-5-1 progression on this one. And if you're not sure what that is, I know that Tom Donald recently has released a video on this, so head on over to the channel. You'll find the video there. If you're not sure, it'll teach you more than you need to know for this particular one. We're going to start off with a simple one. So there's 4 numbers that I want you to keep in mind for this first one, and those will be 1, 3, 5, and 7. So in the context of this, so the first chord will be D minor, so we're going to be hitting 1, so that's D, 3, that's the F, 5, that's the A, and 7, dominant 7, being the C. So that's, for the G it'll be this, so that's 1, 3, 5, 7, G, B, D, and F, and for the C it's going to be C, E, G, B natural. B natural on this one. I'm not going to make that a dominant 7th for this particular one. And that's exactly how I want you to play her out. We're just going to be going through each one of those note for note, spelling it out from bottom to top. So it's going to sound like this. Just like that. Now this isn't the end result of what we're going to be doing here today, but I'm just trying to get you to make your fingers work at the moment. That's a big part of this, is just getting your fingers familiar with these strong chord tones and the important notes for each of these chords. So I recommend just doing this round and round a few times. And I'm hitting C twice a little bit there just to round it off. So this is a bass line, so I'm playing it too high at the moment, so I'm going to put it down an octave, so we'll try it down here, and we'll just do this on a little loop together, so we'll try that. And when you get to the C, because we're doing it twice, you can always play it the opposite direction. Just getting used to this shape, familiarizing yourself with the strong chord tones, and just getting your fingers used to this motion. It's a mechanic that we're trying to nail home here. Alright, so that's the idea with that, and that's pretty much what I would recommend doing at the start of this if you're new, right? Because a lot of this is just getting the functionality of your left hand to behave in the correct way. So we can do this with other keys, of course. We can maybe do a 2-5-1 in F. So again, this 2 chord is going to be a minor, so that's a G minor. And we're going to go 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's G, B flat, D. So the triad there, and the dominant 7th there on the F. C then. Now we are going to be hitting the B flat on that one, and then the F like this. So we'll just do that very quickly. Alright, so you can pick a few different keys to try this with, and it's just to get familiar with that sort of movement. Pretty straightforward, but a good one to practice to begin with. So once that's a little bit more comfortable under your hands, what you can start to do is you can change the direction in which you go with these notes. So instead of going bottom to top, and you can go from top to bottom, or you can bounce between the notes in the middle, just to kind of get it, change the direction up a bit and get a little bit more creative with it. As long as you're hitting the main chord tone, so 1, 3, 5, and 7, and you're keeping to 4 notes for each chord. And probably most importantly, with walking bass lines as a rule for now, is to make sure you're hitting the root note of each chord at the start of each bar. That's quite important for this. So that could look a bit like this. Right, see, so what I did there is I started by going up as normal, but then I came back to the third and then went to that G and then started just walking down. And then I did the C normally there. So you see, so you can start to get a little bit more creative with your direction with this. Putting this on a loop will be very useful, and we're just getting used to the notation, right? So you can choose whatever direction you want, but you know, you're just getting used to your fingers working and hitting those correct notes for each chord. You see? So it's really up to you the way in which you go with that, but get used to just sort of breaking it up a little bit. But to start with, I definitely recommend just spelling it out from 1, 3, 5 and 7 on each, just to get used to those notes. Okay, so I'd like to give you something to work with the right hand in this, just to help really sell that left hand a little. And there's obviously many different things you could do with the 2-5-1 shape, but I'll just show you a simple one that I like to use. And it's really easy. It'll sound like this. It's relatively simple to do, and it's quite easy to find as well. So the way you do it is you play the triad first. So we're on D minor to begin with, and we're going to drop our thumb to the dominant 7th. So that's a tone below, and that's it. That's your first chord, because now we have all the notes of a D minor. Remember, because we're playing D in the left hand here, so we've got all of the notes of a D minor 7. We've just broken up the numbers a little. So now that's 1, 7, 3, and 5. And that's why that's there. So when we move to the 5 then, the only thing your right hand has to do here is it keeps everything the same, but the thumb will be dropping down a semitone. And what you actually end up getting there is a G9 chord, because we have the root, we have the major 3rd, the dominant 7th, and by keeping that top A, we have the 9th there as well. So that's G9. And then when we return to the 1, we're going to keep our thumb where it is this time, and we're going to drop these 2 top notes down. And what we end up getting there is a C major 7 chord. C in the bass, the major 7th here on our thumb, 3rd and 5th. So that's it. Alright, and the first thing you want to start to do, once that left hand's a little bit more comfortable, we'll just stick to going 1, 3, 5 and 7 from bottom to top for now. But we want to try and include this right hand along with it. And we're just going to hold it down, not worried about any comping patterns or doing anything interesting rhythmically. We're just going to hold it down at the start of each chord for the whole bar. And it'll sound like this. Yeah, and again, you want to put this on a loop. Remember, you can change the direction of some of these notes in the left hand, so once that happens, you can get a bit more comfortable doing this. You're just getting used to that left hand walking. Whoops, excuse me. Right, so that's the idea there. So of course I'd recommend doing this in other places as well. So you know, you could try this in F. So again, you'd find it in the same way with that shape if you need the first chord, which is a G minor shape. So you've got a G triad in the right hand, drop the thumb down a tone to the dominant 7th. That's your starting shape. Then when you move to the 5, you just drop the thumb down a semitone, and then you bring the top 2 down. And there's your shapes there. So you just mix that along with the left hand. And you notice I had to adjust my path a little bit of my left hand here, because my right hand would have gotten in the way when trying to hit that 7th. So that'll be a good reason for you to have to like change direction and work on like kind of mixing it up a little bit in the left hand here. So of course, once you're a little bit more comfortable with that, you can start adding some comping patterns in the right hand. So we could say do you know, some quaver hits at the beginning. So, you know, doing different rhythms in the right hand is a good way to make it a little bit more interesting, but it also helps with your coordination as well, right? So you're just trying to see what you can put against your left hand in the right. And eventually you can get a pretty good sound out of just doing that, really. So. So, you know, you get a little bit creative with it. You know, the more you practice these different rhythms in the right hand, the more comfortable your two hands will be working together with this stuff. So that was the first one. And this second one I want to show you now is almost exactly the same as the first one, but with one subtle difference. And that difference, in my opinion, does a massive job in making your left hand sound more authentic and more like jazz. So it's the exact same idea, but the difference is that we're going to be playing the first three beats of this, the first three crotchets in this case, with notes of the right chord tone, so either 1, 3, 5, or 7. But the last one that we're going to be hitting, the fourth note, will be a semitone away from the next chord that you're about to hit. So if that, so if I can explain to you what I mean by that, is if we're going from D to G, then I'll hit 3 notes of the chord tones. And then my next chord is G, so I'm going to be playing either a G sharp or a G flat to get to my next chord. I could approach it from the bottom as well, of course. I could approach the whole thing in a different direction from D. You see, that's me going top down. So this is going to really improve the sound of your walking bass lines just by adding that one little passing note that takes us to the next chord. So the way that could work is if I do it very slowly, I'll start on D, chromatically going now to the G, and now we have the fourth note, and we can either hit B or I'm going to hit C sharp to get to C. So that all together. You see? And then we have 2 bars of C. See, C sharp to C. Alright, so that was me spelling out C, E, G, so 1, 3, 5. Then I want to get to a D, and I hit a D sharp. And that's the whole game. So if we listen to that with the right hand as well. So, you know, do this in a few different places, few different keys, try some different patterns in the right hand, you know, to comp with it, and you're going to really start sounding like you know what you're doing with this. You know, it really starts to sell the sound when you put these things together. Subtle little things that I'm doing that I want to bring your attention to. You may have noticed sometimes that I skip my left hand's notes. So this is me trying to emulate a bass player even more so here. I'm not just hitting down like this with it's all the same velocity. Occasionally I'll skip into a note, so I'll be down here and I'll go something like this. So if you caught that, if I do that very slowly, so I bounced off the root note just before that G sharp. So it's like a skipping motion. You hear bass players do this a lot. You see, it's just like these subtle little ghost notes just before. And again, that just helps make the sound a little bit more convincing again. So if you do that very slowly, you can see as an example. See, so it's just like these little skips that really help sell that sound even more so again. And that's more or less the gist of it, really. It's just moving through those strong chord tones in the left hand, getting comfortable of where they are in different keys, and having your right hand do something alongside it that will help reinforce the sound a little bit. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more into this and doing different things in the left hand, or different comping patterns or chord shapes that you could do in the right, or perhaps even to how to solo over the left hand's walking bass like this, then what you could do is head on over to our website. Again, that's contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and ask about the Jack Marshall Blues course. And we'll also send you some resources that go along with some of these videos as well. If you'd like to take this even further, what I recommend you doing is to start listening to bass players a little bit more carefully. Listen to the different ways in which they play their notes, the articulation they use, and the rhythms that they use, because remember, we're trying to emulate them as close as possible. So listening to guys like Ray Brown, Paul Chambers, Ron Carter, Charles Mingus, these guys were amazing bass players, and listening to them and how they played might just help you refine a little bit of your own sound and make yourself sound a little bit more convincing. So I hope that helps, and I hope it was a bit informative for you. As always, I really appreciate you tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. So thanks very much, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.